A show of force from Vladimir Putin today. Testing a missile launched near the Arctic Circle, Moscow claims will have hypersonic speed and multiple warheads, able to overcome U.S. defenses, as Putin threatened earlier this month. Warning of a new arms race. But U.S. officials say today's missile is only in the early stages of development. Still, they tracked its short flight, coming amidst a diplomatic freeze not seen since the Cold War. Today, a Russian charter jet at Dulles Airport, as boxes and crates are loaded. Moving day for Russian diplomats expelled from the U.S. Embassy in Washington and a consulate in Seattle. Punishment for the Kremlin's alleged poisoning of a former Russian spy and his daughter in England. But nearly a month after that crime, the president has talked to Putin, met with foreign leaders, visited Mar-a-Lago twice, given a campaign-style speech in Ohio.
Remember, you can't win unless you win the state of Ohio, right?
But has not said a word publicly about the attempted assassination.
You've had Russia really engaged in actively hostile measures against the United States. It needs a much tougher response, and it needs President Trump to respond personally.
The president last week even surprising aides by congratulating Putin in a call and suggesting they meet.
And I suspect that we'll probably be meeting in the not-too-distant future to discuss the arms race, which is getting out of control.
But two officials telling NBC News he also told Putin, if you want to have an arms race, we can do that, but I'll win. But telling aides not to talk about his warning, so he does not appear to be caving in to critics of his friendly gestures toward the Russian leader.
And tonight, foreign policy experts saying if the U.S. really wants to get Putin's attention, it should hit him where it hurts, with economic sanctions against his cronies, the billionaire oligarchs.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.